Alright, hello. Well, I am going to make a little video, more so for myself than anything else, about some more recent developments. Not like super recent, to be honest. I realized last October, so that was October 2022, that I was in fact trans and had been suffering from gender dysphoria for quite a long time. And I'm just making this little video basically to explain to myself in the future basically why I have decided to transition and basically the feelings I had and whatnot. And I guess for anybody else out there who needs some, I don't know, wants to hear it or whatnot. So basically, for years, probably since pretty much early puberty, I've had sort of obviously a sort of disconnect with how I saw myself. It wasn't too bad early puberty and sort of my late teens, because I guess I sort of had a more androgynous appearance in general. And I've basically always had long hair since basically I was like 12 or something, so I just let my hair down. Um, so yeah, that was pretty much like one of my first things I did to sort of alleviate my gender dysphoria without really knowing it, because obviously at that stage I never heard of a trans person until pretty much my early to mid 20s, and even then it was mostly through right wing sort of commentators on YouTube. I very much got into the whole anti SJW sort of craze. I believe if you could probably go to my main channel, you could probably find some older videos of me talking about that. But yeah, for basically pretty much every single day, I would actually say every day, before I realized, I always imagined what my life would have been like, and especially the day would have been like if I was a girl instead of a guy. And I guess I never clicked on because I was like, oh, it's probably normal for everybody to wonder what it's like to be the other sex. But I was pretty much like at the end of the day, I'd probably lie in bed for like a couple of hours, however long, until I fell asleep, just thinking about that. And I would often have dreams about meeting may sound silly, but meeting like a witch who would turn me into a girl for whatever reason. And I guess, yeah, that's sort of the thing where in hindsight it's kind of obvious. And I went on, like, oh, I'll talk about that after, but yeah, things like that. And obviously I always wondered, like, if I could just try being a girl in real life, if I could press a button, like after I learned what being trans was, and then I would know if I liked it or not. And I would constantly think of that, and I was like, obviously that's like, again, in hindsight, it's kind of silly that that never clicked in my head. And then over and over, and I would say in the last month, so before I realized, like, which would have been September 22, I sort of started, instead of just imagining my life as a girl, I imagined my life transitioning, like actually being trans. And or probably a month or two before I really realized, before it really clicked, and I pretty much stressed out. I was actually very stressed before I realized that I was trans. I'm probably not even wording this well to myself, but yeah, but obviously there's things like that. And like, obviously as I said, I'll go back to the point I had before, was when I never really, well, I don't really remember my childhood all too well, but I don't ever remember being overly disconnected then. Um, but definitely when I hit puberty, I sort of started being a little more jealous of just the girls in my class and how they looked versus how I looked. And I think that was part of the reason I grew my hair out. I also listened to a lot of metal music, so I sort of also did it for that. But I think there was some form of gender nonconformity there. And obviously, I kept the long hair all through. Now I'm like 29, and I mean, that's another thing, is like approaching 30, I very much also started getting very stressed out about growing up as a guy. And even when I imagined my ideal self as a guy, I sort of imagined more of a lean, androgynous look to myself. And yeah, I think that's when I was younger, I sort of was more obviously lean and androgynous, and yeah, and that obviously I guess my ginger spray didn't really click, really hit until I was in my sort of mid 20s, when I guess like my shoulders blocked out a bit more, and I gained quite a lot of weight, and I've been losing that. So at the beginning, when I realized I was trans, I basically got resolved to, before I go on the hormones, get as low as I can weight wise. I was around 90 kilos, so times that by about 2.5 to get pounds, so that would be like 240-ish pounds, I guess, in American measurements. And now I weighed myself again, I was 74, although a few days ago I was 73, so obviously it fluctuates. So I've lost 15 kilos. The main reason I'm making this video now, really I should have done it when it came out, but the reason I'm doing it now is just because in 1 month's time I will be seeing an endocrinologist, and tomorrow I am going to the fertility clinic to get some semen on storage for future use. Depending on how much semen I get, I'll be going back on Monday as well. That depends, obviously. I've also been doing a lot of manual labor with my work, so that's been quite good. And I imagine also a lot like of my weight I still have is muscle, because I've been going to the gym every single day I can, which is normally every day actually after work, for around two to 3-ish hours. I've had some really big days as well. It's like 5 hours just going like really hard at the gym, doing all my muscles, lots of cardio. Like today I ran for 45 minutes, and I think I did like something like 6.5 kilometer run, and I burned something like 500 and something calories. So obviously I've been going very hard out on losing weight, because obviously when I start taking HTR, a lot of the yeah, I'll gain a lot of fat back, but it will go basically to the right locations, because at the moment it's all concerned around my gut, and it's really stubborn. um, but obviously, yeah, when I start HTR, any weight I do gain will also go to the hips and bum. So what I'm looking to get out of transitioning, I know that obviously these things I can't change. Like I can't change my shoulders. My height's fine. I'm actually only the average height for a woman, which, looking back, obviously I knew that, and I was always happy with that. That always felt good to me. And thinking of like things I want to get other. So obviously things I can't change. HDR obviously changes your face, so it'll get fatter and whatnot. I'll grow breasts. Obviously fat redistributions of the skin. Lose my body hair. I've had 4 sessions of laser hair removal so far for my face, and I've got a IPL device which I've been using for my legs, arms, armpits, chest. Although I know when I go on HDR, a lot of the chest and upper legs I'll lose, and my arms hair will get finer, and the remaining leg hair and pubic hair and whatnot will get finer. So, and that's a plus side. When it comes to clothes, I have brought some girl clothes, but when I wear them, I don't like the way I look. I like the clothes themselves normally, but like obviously I look in the mirror and it's just a guy in a dress. So I'm not sure how long until I feel more comfortable. I've taken some photos of myself just now, so hopefully I can do a timeline. But I'm mostly hoping to feel far more like myself, far more correct. And the thing that, yeah, and obviously I know there's things that won't change. Obviously, it's not going to change my core personality, although I do hope by being more comfortable myself, I will end up being more confident, even if it's just a bit. Yeah, so there's that. I'm hoping that a lot of the mental changes will get better. And yeah, obviously this has been 6 months since I've been seeing a doctor, and it took a little while to get an endo appointment. Yeah, and so I should talk about what also made me my sort of crack was. Basically, I was on Twitter, and a trans woman did a timeline photo of just a before and a now, and then she had a little comment underneath saying that, like, because basically before she was like super buff, and then obviously now she's not, and she said basically she was going to the gym to masculinize herself as much as possible, because, I mean, that's sort of what society deemed necessary for. Hey, if I get to this peak masculinity, hopefully I'll be happy, and then obviously it didn't work, and I realized I had been doing a similar thing, although I never got really to that peak masculinity, but I was sort of trying to get it, but I was very haphazard about it. So obviously, as I said, I had gained quite a lot of weight because I felt like I knew I should do things like go to the gym to improve myself, and I just agreed, like, yeah, I need to improve myself, but then I was like, I also couldn't be fucked as well, and I didn't really care about myself. I sort of viewed my body as just a vessel to do things through. I didn't really care about it. I don't, but now I sort of do, as I realized I had that epiphany moment, and I was at work when it happened, and I just was like, shit, and I actually told my mom straight away, which I kind of regret because she is very transphobic, and she constantly talks about things that just upset me, and I don't really know how to argue against it. I have watched a fair few things about how to argue against it. I guess when it's someone it's kind of hard to argue against them. And I realized one of my friends who I play tabletop RPGs with, Jackie, was actually a trans masc individual, and I didn't know that before, so that was good to know. And they've been helping me, and I've talked to a few trans people I knew, and again, the funny thing in retrospect is when I learned about trans people, I actually studied trans like the process a lot before I even looked at even. Obviously, I didn't even realize. I was like, to me, I was brushed it off as like a morbid curiosity, where I was like, oh, I'll go see I want to learn all about this. And I was reading about this, and I started reading about the surgeries, and then I actually watched like a few of the surgeries being performed to see what it was like and so on, and it didn't faze me at all, and I just boiled it down to curiosity and like a few things throughout my life when I would express them in it. Like I remember once in high school, I shaved my legs, and a girl pointed it out and laughed at me, and then I sort of never did it again. And there was lots of little moments like that in my life that people would like, or someone would point something out that was more feminine than I was trying to do, and I would just repress it. And obviously, I think a lot of trans people can relate to that. But yeah, and shit. I wonder if there's anything else I want to talk about. I'll definitely make a video in a month's time when I am about to see the endo, or after I've seen the endo and I've started HCR. But yeah, there's nothing really else for me to talk about. Obviously, I've told there's a few members of my family who I haven't told. I've told most of my friends and so on. But the only real person who's closest to me who I haven't told is really my brother. I guess my dad doesn't know, but I'm not really close to him, but I am. And my grandparents I would like to tell, but I don't really know how to go about that. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. This was obviously very off the cuff, and yeah, I just wanted to sort of say to myself, yeah, obviously I very much want a lot of the change that will happen, like obviously hips widening and whatnot. Breast growth, I don't really care too much about that. If I have something, that's fine, but yeah, and without any further ado, I guess I'll leave that there. And if somebody watches this, I want to talk about a metaphor, an analogy that I heard that I quite liked, that I very much did relate to, which was, I sort of viewed being a man as a job. Like, imagine society if there was only two jobs you could do, and I imagine, and one's obviously the job for men, job for women, and while each job is quite diverse in what it can do, I sort of felt like everybody sort of expects you just to do the job you've been assigned, and you sort of have to just do it, and you don't really know anything else. You can see people doing the other job, but it's not really expected for people to switch job, and people who do obviously get ostracized hard by everybody around them. So you sort of have that element where you don't want to do that. You've only done this one job forever, basically, so you only know how to do that, and you think, well, I've been doing this for long enough, I sort of know how to do it well enough, and you think, brush off wanting to switch job as just sort of a grass is green on the other side thing, where you're just like, well, you can see, look over there and say, oh, well, they got some pretty major issues with how their job works. So, maybe I'm just, not looking this right, and I'm just thinking, oh, yeah, no, this grass is always green on the other side type thing. But then it sort of reached a point where I just realized I just really didn't like my job, and I wanted to do the other job. And the downsides, I understand. I have a decent idea what they will be, and as a sacrifice I'm willing to pay to be happy. And yeah, I'm willing to go through the process of transitioning to a different job, so to say. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to leave it there and just upload this onto my YouTube channel, my second one. And if you like it, whatnot. If you're a transphobia, leave a comment saying, oh, you'll never be a woman or whatnot. No, you go ahead. I don't really care. This is, obviously, this moment is very much I realized I need to stop caring about what other people think and just do what I think is best for me. And, if it doesn't work out, I only have myself to blame, because no one came to me and told me I was trans. I came to the conclusion myself. Looking back at my life, I realized, oh shit, yeah. And very much that was my response at realizing. I was like, fuck. Because I knew what it would take, but I have to do it. Because, or else I'm just going to sit there every single day going like, I wonder what it would be like to be one. Oh, I should transition. I should just go through with it. And I know that every single day I'll keep on having that same thought of, I have to just try at the very least. And obviously the younger I try, I mean, now I know like my growth plates for my bones is pretty much sealed. So there's not much I can do there, but I feel like I miss my 20s, so I can at least get my 30s. So I know I did things like I went to Europe and the USA and whatnot, but I spent a lot of time just procrastinating. So I felt like I just can't procrastinate anymore. I have to reach out and bite the bullet. And yeah, and obviously if it doesn't work, it's my own fault, but I feel like it will. Because yeah, no one told me to do this. A lot of people I did tell who were trans and so on didn't, were like, oh, yeah, no, it's a hard path to walk, especially later on in life. And they're like, I hope you're all the best. And I've been getting pointers. Like, there's a woman named Chaos Eve who's I've talked to a bit. I met a couple of trans girls in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I actually met up with them at the beginning of the year, and we went for some preliminary clothes shopping. It's kind of funny though, because obviously doing that, I've lost a lot of weight now, so it feels like a lot of things don't even fit anymore. But so I'm going to wait a bit more before I'm probably just stay boy moding it for a long time, until more substantial changes can happen and I can realize, okay, this is probably going to be my size for a while, although I'm going to keep up the exercise regime as much as I can at the moment, because obviously, well, I even went after transition, because obviously it actually is making me feel better. I measured my testosterone's gone up because it was somewhat low, although yeah, now I've just been working out like constantly and I feel much better, but I still have that yearning and desire to transition. Yeah, so I think obviously I say without further ado, and I'll leave it there a few times, but I think that's pretty much everything I want to cover. Yeah, and if this helped you, yeah, leave a comment or whatnot. If you don't approve, feel free to leave a comment as well. I don't care, because obviously this is something I have to do for me. All right, thank you. Bye.